Welcome to Couples Therapy in 7 Words. I am your co-host, Judy Alexander, and I'm here with my husband, Dr. Bruce Chalmer.
Well, hello, Judy, and hello, listeners. Regular listeners to our podcast will note that one of our most recent episodes, we interviewed a couple that was quite elderly. The man was, 97, I believe,
yes.
And the woman was 83. And just by an amazing coincidence, we seem to be dealing with older folks. We got contacted by a couple that is even older.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really older.
Really old.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go, but it was by nature of asking for help. And we do want to help. After all, that's, I'm a couples therapist by my profession, and we do like to help people. That's why we're doing this podcast. So we thought we would invite them on the show. They were quite willing to do that. I think they were quite game, to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to interview them. And so that's going to be our podcast for today. Just to remind people about this podcast, which we would, of course, like you to tell your friends about, it's based, the reason we say couples therapy in 7 words is it is based on the formula.
Be kind, don't panic, and have faith.
That's what it's based on, which, of course, in turn is the basis of the book that I wrote, which is called Reigniting the Spark: Why Stable Relationships Lose Intimacy and How to Get It Back. And we hope you will acquire the book. We're not going to do much today by way of commercials because we want to get right to our interview with this particular couple. So I think the way we're going to do this, because I occasionally do this with the couples that I see, we'll interview them separately first and then see if it makes sense to put them together. I know they're having some problems, but we're here to help them. And I think I'm going to interview the woman of the couple, and then Judy, you'll interview the man, and we'll put them together and see how it goes. Does that sound okay to you, Judy?
Sounds good.
Good. Let's do that. So let's invite, patch in. We're doing this, of course, electronically. Let's patch in the woman. I believe her name is Eve. Yeah, her name is Eve. She didn't put a last name down here, but let's welcome her in. So, Eve, hello, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Welcome to our show. And I believe you were the one who contacted us, right? It's usually the woman that contacts us. Yeah. I have to say, we're doing this over Zoom, and so our listeners can't see you, but I can. And I am noting your choice of wardrobe is interesting. I think it's rather different from what I usually see in couples. You want to comment on your choice of wardrobe?
Well, it's all natural stuff, naturally, it's fig leaves. Fig leaves, yeah, that's what I'm wearing, fig leaves. I make it myself.
Wow, yeah, so you actually, you're kind of into fashion yourself? And
Yeah, I make all my own clothes, I do all my own cooking, catch all my own food, and do all my own gardening, and
wow.
Whatever I need to do.
That is quite impressive. Usually what I like to do in a first session with folks is get a sense of their family background. So can I ask, are your parents living, or have they passed away?
Parents? What is this parents?
You don't have were you adopted? Is that what you're saying? You don't have parents? Is that?
What? I don't understand the concept. What are you talking about?
So that, I guess I'm not able to sort of do that family diagram. Well, let me sort of skip the previous generation then. You are married, I believe. Your husband's name?
Adam.
Adam. Okay, yes. So you're married to Adam. And do you have kids?
Well, we have 2 now. We had 3. Oh, is that a story? Let me tell you. We have 3 sons. Well, like a bunch of kids too, but the main kids. We got Cain, but God only knows where he is. He's wandering, and then, well, he killed his brother.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's quite a story. And then we had Seth, and then we had a bunch more. They're all wandering around. It's yeah. That is.
And, you mentioned that you make your own clothes and grow your own food and things of that sort. I mean, what sort of work do you do? What is your profession?
I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer. Mm-hmm. I till the land with Adam.
Yeah.
We work the land.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you found that working together with your husband, sometimes people find that kind of challenging. Is that something that you found?
Oh my God, it is so challenging. He is so annoying. Yeah. All he does, he keeps blaming me for the life that we have to work so hard. He just blames me for everything. He says, if it wasn't for you, we'd still be living in the Garden of Eden and having all our needs taken care of.
Oh, so you had previously, you'd lived in another place, and it was you had your needs taken care of there?
Oh, yeah. It was just the two of us. And, like the big, we call him the big guy. We never really see him. He's kind of invisible. We don't even know if it's a he. We just kind of hear this voice that tells us what to do. Mm-hmm. And then, to hear Adam tell it, it's all my fault. But anyway, we got thrown out of this beautiful garden where we grew up. And it was just the two of us. And we got thrown out because of something that happened. And I don't have to go. Do I have to go into details?
This wasn't about like you didn't pay your rent on time or something, or what
What's this rent? I don't know what you're talking about. Like rent and parents. Is like rent and parents like the same thing?
They seem, sometimes people do refer to parents as the rents, so I guess maybe they are kind of related, yeah. So that's not, but that isn't why you were thrown out, you're saying? It was something that at least Adam blames you for?
Well, yeah, there were a couple of, the whole thing, it was like this beautiful paradise garden, and there were two trees stuck in the middle, and, the big guy told Adam not to eat from the trees. Like, no, he didn't tell me not to eat from the trees, but anyway, there was this other creature there, like this snake. He was, kind of like a really hot, sexy guy. And he said, don't listen to what Adam said. And he took a bite of the fruit. He gave it to me to take a bite, and it was really good. And I gave a taste to Adam. And then the next thing you know, we're getting thrown out. Well, the voice, the thing says, you can no longer live here. You didn't listen to me. And Adam got mad at me. And he's been blaming me ever since we got thrown out.
Yeah. And have you, are you looking to save the marriage? Is that what you're hoping to do? Or are you feeling like maybe separation would be a thing to do? Or
I don't want to separate from him because, we've been together for forever, like as long as I can remember. And there's not a lot of men around my age, It's So who knows how much longer I'll have. But, the years that I do have, I don't want to spend them fighting all the time and being blamed. Like every time he goes outside, well, if it wasn't for you, Eve, I wouldn't have to be digging this hard. If it wasn't for you, Eve, I wouldn't have to be carrying all this stuff. It's like I'm hearing that all the time.
Yeah, that must be kind of difficult, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thinking this might be a good time to let's hear from Adam and hear his approach, and then maybe we can get the two of you together. Eve, is that okay with you if we go ahead and do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, let me invite Judy back then into the conversation. So, Judy, I guess if you can take care of interviewing Adam,
sure.
Just kind of keeping the genders balanced a bit, and
okay.
Then we'll put them together and see what happens.
Okay, sure. Okay, Adam, welcome. And, as Bruce said, he likes starting out getting some background. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your background, where you were born, a little bit about your parents.
Well, hello. Thank you for doing this. I know it was Eve's idea, of course. Mm-hmm. Of course it was Eve's idea. I mean, this isn't going to be my idea. I'm a guy and we don't do this sort of thing. But she said it was a good idea. We should do this so that, if we're going to stay together, which we want to do, we do want to stay together, that we should, not be arguing so much. My background you're asking about, well, I started out pretty much... I was an earthy kind of guy. I started off in the earth, and the first thing I know, I'm walking around. I mean, I don't remember much about childhood if I had one. I just remember I was walking around, and our landlord there in the place we lived in the Garden of Eden. Our landlord, we just call him Lord because for short. But our landlord would tell me what to do. And one of the first things he had me doing already is I'm supposed to name all the creatures that I see.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to name them, you got to know them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say know them, I mean know them.
Like in the biblical sense?
I guess that's where it's written up, I guess, in the Bible. So it's like, yeah, I'm supposed to know all these creatures. And I got to tell you, that was kind of exhausting. I have to tell you, this was exhausting. I'm knowing all these creatures one after another. Some of them, it's sort of kind of hard to imagine how I could know them. But this is what I had to do, and I'm naming all these creatures, and it's one thing, it's another thing, and some of them are creepy crawly, and some of them are standing up, and it's just crazy. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking, and I'm thinking, is there anybody among these creatures I want to live with? And there really wasn't any of them. They just didn't fit me, if you know what I want to say.
I think
that.
I can figure that out. Yes.
In all kinds of ways, literally and figuratively,
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, I go to sleep. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up. I've got a pain in my side. Ay, gewalt, have I got a pain in my side? It's just killing me. And I wake up and I look up and there I see this person. I'm not used to looking at people, but, I'm saying I'm looking at this person and this person seems to fit pretty well. What can I tell you?
Mm-hmm.
And she says to me, I say to her, Madam, I'm Adam, and she says whatever it is that this palindromic coming back to me about Eve. I don't remember that part. And so she introduces herself, and I introduce myself, and we decide, I'm looking at her, and I'm saying, hey, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, this is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, yeah, this is all right, we can try this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're living together. There we are in the garden, we're living together.
Okay.
So
what happened next?
Well, the thing that happened next is a little weird because, it's a garden. It's beautiful. It's very nice. We have all of our needs taken care of. We're just walking around. We're fine. We don't need clothing. It's really very easy. The weather's perfect, And the landlord, the Lord that we call him, he says, well, you can eat anything you want from this garden, except there's this tree in the middle of the garden that's all about knowledge of good and evil, he says. Mm-hmm. What do I know from good and evil? I'm going around, I'm naming things. I don't know from good and evil. He says you should not eat from that tree. That's the one tree you can't eat from. Well, what happens next? My wife, Eve, what does she do? She eats from it. Mm-hmm. She says she was talked into it by some serpent. I don't care where she was talked into it. She eats from it. And she gives it to me. Now, what am I supposed to say no? If my wife serves me up a really tasty fruit, I'm not going to say no to her. So she gives it to me and I eat it. And oy, did we piss off the Lord. He was really incensed by this. And he says, all right, you've blown it. You're gone. You're out of here. And of course, the way he knew that we had done this is, we eat the fruit. And the next thing you know, I'm looking and I'm saying, you do realize, Eve, you're naked. And she looks at me and says, you're naked too. And I'm saying, I don't think we're supposed to be naked, are we? I don't know how we knew this all of a sudden, but, we know this.
Well,
and so,
you mentioned knowledge of good and evil. Right?
Yeah, I guess we figured that, apparently walking around naked is not exactly what's, we're supposed to do. So then what happens after that is the Lord comes along and we're hiding because we're thinking we're naked. And the Lord says, who told you you're naked? What's this? You must have eaten other fruit. Mm. So, I'm saying, yeah, she gave it to me. What do you think? You give me a help meet. By the way, it's not help mate. Everybody thinks it's help mate. It's a help meet. Meet means appropriate. It's an appropriate help. She's supposed to be a help to me. And what does she do? She serves me up this fruit and gets us kicked out of the garden.
Well, did you feel, so you said you felt you could not say no to her?
I didn't want to say no to her. If I go saying no to her, maybe she starts saying no to me, and I like it when she says yes to me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, so what brings the two of you to see me and Bruce, and what is the problem that you're seeing us about?
Well, after a while, we're kicked out of the garden, mm-hmm. and I have to work my tail off all the time just to make a living. And, it hasn't got it easy either, she gives birth to children. We have children. She mm-hmm. might have mentioned that to you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of them is no longer. But we started with 3, and we've had a whole bunch more. And she has to give every time she gives birth, it's painful.
Sure.
She has to work hard. That's why they call it labor,
And what field do you work in?
I'm also a farmer like she is.
Okay.
I mean, we both, we till the
so
soil.
you own a farm together.
We own a farm together, yeah. We do what we can. And we also have a lot of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And, we have
Big family, it
big
sounds
family,
like.
very big family, yeah, kind of, covering the earth. This is, who we have spawned over the years. But the problem we're having is that, I think she tells me that I shouldn't blame her for all of this. But whom else am I supposed to blame? And so I get resentful, and I guess she doesn't like it that I get resentful because, I'm annoyed. If she had towed the line there and hadn't, tempted me into doing the wrong thing, we would have been okay.
Well, this might be a good place to bring in Eve and Bruce, and we can all sit down together and kind of hash this out and see what you're thinking, what Eve is thinking, and how we can come to some resolution with you two.
Well, I'm willing to do that. I hope you can help us out because,
I hope so. You seem like a very nice couple, and you've been together a long time, so we'd like to see that stay together. Okay, so Bruce, let me put you back in to the conversation and get Eve back here. Eve, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes, loud and clear.
Well, great. So I was listening in on both of those interviews, and so I have a sense of what went on. I'm curious, I guess since we did just hear from Adam, Eva, I'm curious to ask you, when Adam blames you, what's your sense of how that all happened? You're looking for him to forgive you. You're looking for him to say that it really wasn't your fault. What is your sense of what happened?
Well, I guess I do take responsibility for it. But you got to get past certain things. How long is you going to go on with life blaming somebody for everything bad that's happening in your life? Okay, it's my fault. I did it. I ate the fruit. I gave it to him. We got kicked out of the garden. Move on. Move on. Get past it, okay?
You're telling me to get past it, Eve? I'm supposed to get past this? All the work we have to do, all the pain we go through and the suffering and the dying. there's the dying. We see dying. Our own son is dead. We're going to die eventually. This didn't happen
Who wants to live forever? Especially if you're going to be bothering me like this all the time. I don't mind the hard work. I don't know why you resent it all the time. It's work. It's work. Now, what else are you going to do? Sit around looking at your navel and picking out the lint? Come on, you got to do something.
Well, I was just remembering the times in the garden when I could, I could lie down and I could watch TV and I could, the programs were very interesting and I could watch sports and I could, have a snack.
What sports were you watching? You're watching the birds. This one is picking out a worm. This one's picking out a seed. I mean, come on, that's sports.
It was nice. I longed for those days when things were simple and easy. And,
All right. Well, you can't go back to those days. So, you're going to have to accept it, right?
Yeah. So you're wanting me to accept things, but, well, I was going to say you haven't really taken responsibility, but I suppose you're saying you're taking responsibility. I don't know.
Well, as I said, it's my, I took the first bite, okay? I took the first bite. I gave you the bite. It's my fault, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. There we are.
I think I do want to check in with something that hasn't come up because, Adam, I want to note this for you because you're blaming Eve for this and she's saying, well, yes, she took the first bite, but I don't think she said or you said that she, tied you down and rammed it down your throat. I think she offered it to you and suggested that you try it, and apparently you did. And do you think you perhaps do, bear some responsibility for that?
Oh, good question, Bruce. Good question. Yeah, answer the doctor, Adam. You tell him. Did I tie you down? No.
She didn't tie me down. Fair enough. I will grant you that she didn't tie me down. And that's okay. So maybe some of what I'm angry at is myself too, Maybe we shouldn't have done this. I don't know. Maybe if we, of course, then I realize every once in a while, if we hadn't done that, or if she hadn't done that, where would we all be now? Would we even have our children and grandchildren that we can shep some nachas with? I mean, not Cain maybe, but the Seth's kids. We like Seth's kids.
Seth's kids, we like them.
Yeah, they're good.
Kids.
Yeah, they're good kids, and they've given birth to a lot of kids down the line, and some of them have even written about us. And that's kind of flattering that they've written about us. And I guess, I do have to admit, if you hadn't taken that bite and hadn't got me to, or invited me, I'll grant you that, to take the bite, where would any of this be? Would we just be there, and there wouldn't really be any of the, the wonderful things that have happened afterwards. So I will grant you that. I can see that sometimes.
Oh, and let's get something else straight, mister. This is another thing that I don't like. Remember you asked me before about like my parents and where I was born and that kind of stuff. So I get conflicting stories about this one. Sometimes I hear that we both came about at the same time. That's what the voice tells us, that I created you at the same time, man and woman in my image. I created them, right? And then he comes up with some cockamamie story like I came out of his rib. So now I'm part of Mr. McRib over here?
Well, what am I supposed to think? I wake up, I've got an incredibly sore spot on my right side, or was it my left side? It was on one of those sides. And there you're standing there, and I've never seen you before. So, what am I supposed to think? Where'd you come from? You just sort of...
Yeah, the same place you came from. Like, poof! The big guy, the voice, the one that the landlord, the Lord, yeah. The one that we call Lord.
I will note, as I, on Zoom, as I look at the two of you in your fairly matching outfits with your fig leaves, I do notice that neither one of you seems to have a navel. You don't have a belly button. And that could be related to Eve, to what you were just talking about, that perhaps you were not born the way that, everybody else is born, coming out of a mother with a umbilical cord attached.
Yeah, I don't have a mother. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't have a mother. Like I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't born. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I just appeared. Adam just appeared. He's telling me, no, you came from my rib. So that's why I call him Mr. McRib, because he thinks like he's better than me, because he says, oh no, I was here first. It's like a competition all the time. It's a competition.
Well, I'll tell you something else that, maybe you don't even remember this, Eve. Maybe you don't like to remember it. But you think you're the first woman I met, huh? You think you're the first one on the scene? You remember Lilith? You remember her?
No, I don't remember her, because according to you, she was gone long before I came along.
Yeah, well, maybe she was gone long before you came along, but, I could have married her.
Well, why didn't you marry her?
Well, because she wasn't right for me. I saw that. For one thing, she had a mouth on her, and she kept trying to tell me what to do, and I wasn't thinking, I figured I was born first, so I should be the one in charge. I'm bigger, and I'm the one in charge, right? And so, she comes along.
So you don't like it when a woman tells you what to do. Is that what you're saying?
I suppose that's what I'm saying.
Well, that could be part of your problem, Adam and Eve. I think you need to establish that you're in a partnership. This is not a competition.
Yeah, it's interesting, Judy, how their ideas, well, certainly Adam's ideas of what that partnership would mean, seem to have been shaped by rather different culture than the one that we're used to now.
You got that right, Dr. Chalmer. I'm telling you, that's exactly right. He is coming from like a caveman mentality.
Yeah, I think that could be part of their issues.
What do you think, Adam?
I think, you talk about a caveman mentality. I don't remember living in caves. It's certainly possible that I don't remember it, because the first thing I remember, I'm walking around the Garden of Eden naming things. Mm-hmm. But it's possible, I suppose. I mean, I don't know this business of trying to make a partnership with somebody else, especially that somebody else seems to be of a different gender than me. I didn't know there was such a thing, but apparently that's the case. and has something to do with how we kind of fit together, I guess. So, yeah, I guess there's something to that. I'm not quite sure how I could pull it off, though. I don't know how I could learn to do this at this age. I mean, last time I looked, I was about roughly 5,700 years old. So, it's kind of hard to change your ways when you're that old.
Sure. You get set in your ways, and like you said, it's tough. You've been doing it for over 5,000 years, so it's hard to figure out new stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to do. But again, I was willing to come here. I'm hoping you can, you can offer us some sort of help. I don't know if, what is the usual course of treatment in something like this? I mean, can you take care of us in this one session? Or, do we have to keep coming back? I mean, I've talked with some of my great grandchildren, and they talk about, being in therapy forever. And I'm certainly not real interested in that.
Bruce, maybe you want to address this since you're the therapist here.
Yeah, I'd be happy to address that. Yeah, I know a lot of folks worry about that. And I can say definitely I have had no couples that I've worked with for more than maybe 1,000 years or so. Never gone anywhere close to 5,000. So, I think in due time, if we work together, if the couple is willing to, to concentrate on the work, I think they can make some significant progress. I don't know, Judy, do you have a sense of that? Just, I know you're not a therapist, but just in terms of your own experience.
Sure. Well, what I'm thinking is that, both of them, both you, Adam, and you, Eve, I think, Adam, you need to come to terms with the fact that you're not going back to the garden and that life is a struggle and you are going to have some tough times, and blaming Eve isn't going to make your life any easier. In fact, if you stop blaming Eve, it might make it a little bit easier. You might see things in a whole different light.
Yeah, you tell him.
You mean if I stop blaming Eve for the problems that she caused, somehow my life is going to get better? How is it going to get better if I stop blaming her when she caused the problems?
Well, like you said earlier, you do have some ownership over that. Remember, you did not refuse her. You did not turn her down. You seem to be pretty amenable to taking a bite of that fruit. So you have to accept your responsibility in the situation.
And I can add to that too. That
Please do.
One of the things that often happens with couples is, they go through these struggles, and it is hard to accept whatever the realities are sometimes. But when they can, it's really, as you were saying to Adam, it would be easier for him, of course, if he wasn't carrying around that resentment. But also what's amazing, and there was a little hint of this in some of what Adam was saying, they can actually start to appreciate the struggle. In other words, not only to recognize that, Eve may have been taken the first bite, but it was kind of, there was something right about the whole thing happening that maybe even, the big guy, as Eve referred to the voice, or, their landlord, Lord, maybe even intended it, that they needed to get out of the garden and start acting like grown-up humans rather than little kids.
Yeah.
And that if this hadn't happened, they wouldn't have that. And so, to come to that kind of appreciation is often how couples heal. So I think what would make sense is we'll do what I often do. I'm going to suggest to the two of you, Adam and Eve, that you talk with each other about whether you'd like to come back. And if you would like to, just drop me an email, bruce@brucechalmer.com. And you can let me know if you'd like to come back. And we'll set up, more sessions as need be. And I didn't ask what your insurance was, but you might be able to do what I call couple intensives, for which I don't accept insurance if you have the means to pay for it. It sounds like you have a pretty prosperous farm going there, so you might be able to afford it yourself.
Can I pay you in chickens?
I don't generally accept chickens, but we can talk about that.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Adam and Eve, very nice to meet you. And
Yes, so nice to meet you both.
Well, thank you very much. I hope this will be the start of a new chapter for us, at least a new verse, if not a new chapter.
Thank you so much. I mean, just hearing somebody else say that to Adam instead of only hearing my voice all the time telling him something was really helpful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
Eve.
both.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah. So that's our podcast for today. We want to remind you to tell your friends about this podcast. If you go to brucechalmer.com, there's a podcast tab there, or anywhere you get your podcasts is where you can look for Couples Therapy in 7 Words. I'll tell you again about the book on which this podcast is based. It's called Reigniting the Spark, Why Stable Relationships Lose Intimacy and How to Get It Back. It's available anywhere books are sold. It's available as a Audible as well as Kindle version, and also, of course, on paper. And tell your friends about the podcast, and we will be back for our next episode. And we're not even sure yet who it will be to interview, but if you would like to be interviewed yourself, or if you'd like to suggest others to be interviewed, they could be people that you know, they could be people that you've heard of, they could be people that you've read about somewhere. Let us know, and we'll see what we can do. And so until next time,
Remember, be kind
don't panic.
and have faith.